All right, traders, welcome on back here. This is Monday, February 12th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Not too late, at least from there. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside our live trading room. Michael, Linda, Leda, had Al just before, had Ravina just a moment ago. Phil had Alex P, who smashed it on the ARM trade before. We'll get to that in just a moment. Great to see Lawrence and all of our students here just joining us. And just if you're just joining us as well on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Just that being at Cyber Trading U, just right there on the bottom left. Just make sure to follow or subscribe right to all our social media streams and platforms, namely our YouTube, though, knowing when we're going live, when we're not, throughout each and every day of the week. Tomorrow we have a live workshop, so we hope to see you there. But otherwise, just at Cyber Trading U is the handle, and with that, we shall commence. And today, I mean, geez, there is no pressing the brakes here within the market or really any of these crazy stocks that we have seen thus far. Really, just it's one after another. We know that it's flavor of the day type of trade where, what makes the top of the gainers list one day typically makes the percent losers list the following. So, of course, where we look at trades like Hollow back from last week, back from Wednesday and Tuesday of last week, ended up seeing a crash back down. Well, eventually that's going to be the case for BMR and MGIH, but these have given us so much opportunity at one point or another throughout the day. BMR, at least here in the morning session. I'll cover this trade basically from head to toe tomorrow in Traders Talk. At least that's subject to change. Who knows what other stocks we may look to find here before today and then tomorrow morning. You never know. But at least for now, my intent is to cover this trade here, the BMR. It moved up over 1,000% or nearly 2,000%, much like the Hollow stock from last week, but ended up continuing to push up just shortly after the market had opened. I personally had missed out on really the brunt of the run throughout the regular hours here on this trade. Ended up making this crazy pop right here. I took my eyes off it for maybe like 2-3 minutes. Then all of a sudden I turn over to it as it's getting halted. I'm like, ah, shit. Like I don't want to see this just run without me, but I'm looking for support. And it was tough to justify to just jump in, right? So, it ended up building support over here, breaking higher, and then resuming its run. Well, hey, much like Hollow from last week, once that thing pumped, we started to get some of the other crazies out there to come out there. So after his BMR, thankfully, we caught this MGIH. This was like right prior to 12 o'clock noon. I mean, really from the morning session as well, but I ended up catching this perfectly, ended up pushing, well, not perfectly, but thankfully in time for, given the run that it ended up making, at least there. We're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to get enough meat off the bone to fill us up, right? So that's how we like to teach it. So MGIH ended up making a pretty synonymous pop to what we had earlier in the day with the BMR. Now, with that said, though, it ended up coming back down. This came basically all the way back down. So I'm not too keen to put this back on our watch list. Normally if it's just going to stick to the highs, then we'll follow it. But if it just makes lower lows, then you don't want to try catching a falling knife there. It's kind of flavor of the day type thing. So even this BMR, I honestly don't like it here. Order book looks terrible. Big spread, but it hasn't totally broken a lower low yet, right? Even across the whole late morning with it pulling back down here. I guess it's kind of holding for now. Maybe there's a fluke of a chance to see that try and pop back up once more. I'm just going to give this just a second look at the end of this meeting here. The BMR, I'm just going to write off the MGIH. All right, now what we'll do is go right from top to bottom here. Otherwise, we did do really well across the day today. SPY ended up pushing up pretty nicely, but ended up washing out pretty much all of those gains. Ended up pulling back down towards opening bell print price right there for the most part, just right around 501. Hopefully we make a nice build back up later on today. Obviously, we're in such a good market here, so wouldn't necessarily shock me to have a red day or maybe even a few days where we have consolidation, pullback even, and then maybe a higher low building just on the daily chart over time. But, we got a lot going on this week as well. A bunch of different financial events, CPI namely out tomorrow. We'll go from there. Now, like I said, though, let's just kind of go right back to the top of the gainers list here, see what we could add for right now. The MGIH, like I said before, at least we're going to write off. Not really looking that great right now. Wow, I completely missed out on this RNLX stock. I mean, I'm sure Rich had called it out earlier today, but my bread was buttered elsewhere right around this time. So this is a crazy trade. I mean, even more than some of the other stocks we'll go through. So it looks like he got halted probably 6 or 8 times at least. I mean, then a few times on the way down at that. Wild, right? So I'm not trying to be a part of this trade now, let alone even from earlier here. It was tough to even follow BMR, let alone something that just keeps getting halted over and over. And I know Richard called out the pop here right at noon, then from there obviously came back down. So the fortunate part of being here at CTU is that you learn how these stocks trade, right? If you're Grant, if you're Lawrence, if you're Leda, if you're any of our students that have been with CTU over the years, I mean, really, you don't need to be there that long to really have it sink in. Really, just, if you're with us for like a year plus, you should truly understand that these stocks are flavor of the day type deals. So they'll go up, they'll come down, right? So BOF, same deal. Like we said before, NA, RNLX. Hey, MLGO, I like to show this graph every now and then recently because this is an extreme example of pop and drop, right? This is an extreme example of you don't want to turn a day trade into an overnighter. I can care less. We'll make our money elsewhere on different swing trades that are designed as a swing. These are day trades that you don't want to turn into a swing and be on the top of the roller coaster on the way down. So as I come to this MLGO trade, at least here, it actually doesn't look that bad looking at the intraday chart. Dollar stock now. It's going to pop up on a lot more people's radars, at least over time. Now, just look what happened back from Thursday and Friday last week, though. It already popped and dropped then. So, you know what? I'm going to add this to our main list. Spread is pretty good for right now as a day trade, as long as we keep it as such. It could be a nice one to look at here for the next 75, 80 minutes to go. Maybe tomorrow we'll check in with it, but yeah, MLGO we'll start off with for right now. This I had a lot higher hopes for. I want to see Wish make a much better move. Thankfully, again, our bread was buttered elsewhere. We ended up just switching over to that MGIH pretty much just in time by noon. It was pretty much around the same time where I thought this would look to make a better move up, and it just failed. So, now at this point, it's tradable, I guess, but not really offering too much. DHAI, wacky graph. Fausto is telling all of us to stay away from this one, at least, after the first 10 or so minutes of the morning. It ended up making a little move up, but then we just weren't really a fan of the long term. It had to gain our trust, basically. So, unfortunately, shortly after we said that, it came crashing back down, and we moved on. All right. So, actually, let me just really briefly there. Children's Place actually had a really good squeeze back up again today. That threw me for a loop. I didn't think that they'd make as good of a squeeze back up as they made. Brick and mortar company, basically, or at least for the most part, they were operating as such over the last 20, 30 years. Just with all e-commerce taking over, no surprise to see them down as much as they have been just prior to their earnings drop off. And then, hey, had a great recovery, at least great recovery. Rich is a fan here, my colleague here in the chat board, just at the ARM, breaking all-time highs, right? So a little expensive, but just another quick shout out there. Has been a great swing, let alone a fun day trade from last week coming off earnings. SPWR. Now, this one could also make a potential, squeeze up over time here. Looking at how much it had dropped off over time here, I'm sure you could say the same on other energy trades like Plug. We've seen Sunrun, perhaps, maybe. Just kind of shooting from the hip there on those, but you know what? SPWR doesn't look half bad, right? I mean, holding a higher low or double bottoming out right there. Even may have snipped a penny lower, but you know what I'm talking about. Ended up snipping right back up and looks pretty good, up over 16% on the day. I could add that. I know one of our students here, a fan of AMSC. AMSC has made a pretty good gap fill, ended up recovering pretty nicely back from earlier last week and doing a pretty good job here. Just a little flat for right now. I'll keep this on my side list though, going forward. And hey, we haven't even touched any of the crypto stocks yet, at least in this meeting. We have traded them all throughout the day. Just got stopped out on a short, ended up taking small profit. Could have done better, but ended up reversing and going back up here and making another big push. So I'm not a big fan of shorting those crypto stocks, but with Bitcoin in particular up to 50,000, or just hit it before earlier today, I'd figure that we'd see more of a pullback at that point on some of these miners. And we did at first, but ended up just making another higher low. It didn't break a lower low, CLSK at least here. So you know what? I'm going to add this to our watch list again. CLSK just on the way back up. Maybe we'll get that short tomorrow. We'll see. But clearly right now, respect the trend. Right? So simple as saying that. Mara up over 12%, teasing that break over $27. It's been trying all throughout the afternoon and having a tough go at it. Yeah, I mean, the more times it does it in a smaller concentration, for any of my students that I caught up with earlier today on coaching, that was like my big kind of point of discussion. So, maybe we'll talk more about that in Traders Talk, public forum for tomorrow. But you know what, Mara, I'll add to our list here too. I'm a sucker for Mara, so when it's right at the highs, it's hard to, ignore it right there. It's on the gainer side here anyway. Irene, this has been a fun one of late. One of the crypto miners as well. Just not looking as strong, not looking really as good compared to those other two. Cypher, also to keep your eyes on this, just put on your side list over time. Not going to add this to our main list for right now here this afternoon. Hive, Hut, ANY, Wolf, you name it, I know it. And at that's pretty much it. Coinbase up nearly 4%. If you're looking, good there on a swing, if you were following it from earlier last week. But really, I like CLSK and Mara. Those two out of the cryptos. That's pretty much it. All right, timely water break. Let's hop over to the loser side here right now. Again, folks, we got a busy week. I know that Fausto has 2 different events this week. And then tomorrow, namely, we'll have our Traders Talk workshop, just simulcast for all of us inside our live trading room and just on YouTube. At top, I mean, geez, talk about, last week's flavor, yesterday's flavor, so to say, last trading day, that is, that is not today's flavor, right? Yesterday's prices are not today's prices. And that goes to say here at top, for as much as this had popped up Friday morning in pre-market, we did really well on this trade in pre-market. Doesn't look it here looking at the daily chart. Well, you don't want to turn a day trade into a swing trade, do you? This is what happens all the time. So I can care less about missing money out on a trade, because over the years, our students, myself, of course, Fausto from a long time back, you got to realize that there's other stocks out there, not just today, but it's not like the market's closing permanently today. You got all tomorrow, all this week. Today's just Monday, right? We're still in earnings season. We got a bunch more earnings coming out this week, next week. You got NVIDIA after that. All right, so just a filibuster there slightly. I don't really see much else out there on the loser side. I mean, we're working in a pretty good market here going up. Boil down 7 to 8%. Actually, this has been a phenomenal short, looking at this in hindsight, right? For as much as it dropped, you might ask, when's it going to bounce? Starting to bottom out loosely here around 1620-ish. Maybe there's an iceberg at 16 on the bid, maybe at 15 even. You know what? I'm going to add this to our watch list here this afternoon. Quote unquote watch list, meaning I am not forced to trade this stock. You are not forced to trade this stock. This is just an interesting stock to watch here for right now, in the sense that for as much as, actually, might I say it's an ETF. So for as much as this ETF has dropped off over the last 2-3 weeks, when are we going to get a bounce, right? So let's even break open level 4. Let's break open book map here. Does it look even tempting? Well, you got some volume showing up. I mean, it was earlier in the morning here too at $16. So now there's one at 16, and there's one also at 1586, magic number right there. That's about 40+ thousand shares. So, it does have easy to see levels. You might want to look for a bounce on Boyle over time, given how much it has dropped off, just in that loose regard. Now you don't want to catch a falling knife, so under and over, right? You want to look for that slingshot, under, then over. We'll cover that tomorrow, more so in Traders Talk, that workshop. All right, what else we got? GitLab down about 6%, a little more expensive. Spread's not terrible, at least here, just more thin on the order book side. All right, so I think that's just about going to conclude it here, folks. If there's anything else looking good, namely on the way up, just type it in the chat board here. Just let me know. BOF, this thing's not looking too good. LXRX, on the other hand, not looking half bad. This thing has a pretty good order book, pushing up right now to resistance. I say that because you could see that even on my TradeStation matrix here, my level 3 from TradeStation, right at $3, then at $2.98, combined about 40,000 shares nearly. So you know what? I don't mind this LXRX trade as well. I'll add this to the back end of our list. Really quick, folks, just can everybody hear me in the main chat board inside Cyber Group? Loud and clear. Just let me know, or from Choppy as well. Just let me know there too. Good. Okay, just had a chat from one of our students, so maybe it's them. So you never know. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's me. So for my student Chuck there that just wrote me, maybe just do a little reset from your side. That could do the trick. Cool. There we go. And some new members joining us here, like Joseph and Charlene. Great to see you here as well, and Timothy B. Cool. All right. So again, hey, last call, up, down, left, right, more than 5%. Just let me know if anything else is looking pretty good on your side here, folks. We got 5 stocks to work with, or well, four stocks, 1 ETF, we'll call it, right? Boyle. Check back on BMR. Yeah, it's starting to break down a little bit more now, and it's got a horrible order book, so I'm not really going to try and risk that here on a Monday afternoon. We got other trades that are easier on the eyes, that are easier to make money on. We know that just from experience. CLSK, Mara, we got the MLGO, actually. That's a pretty unique trade, kind of moving on its own accord. And, if this could hold over $1 higher lows, I think this could make for a great trade here for this afternoon. All right, so hey, I will be back on the mic here coming up for all of us inside our live trading room in just about 12 minutes. Actually, for my student Chuck there, I will reset myself just to make sure I'm squared away for the next hour, and we'll go from there, folks. All right, but hey, on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, I've had this up on the bottom left at Cyber Trading U. Just if you are not following or subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, namely, and of course all of our social media streams, just make sure to follow us at Cyber Trading U. Again, we have a live workshop tomorrow, and then on top of that, literally, quite literally, I should say, I should have had it up there from the jump, but on the top left of that stream right now as it loads is a QR code, and if you're fancy with your phone, fancy with your camera, you can scan that code right there and get you access to a week-long trial to our live trading room, get the full service, full rendition of the chat of all of our instructors, not just myself, but my colleague Rich, and of course the man himself, Fausto, just running the show. So we look forward to seeing you there, and then otherwise, hey, just we'll see everyone just otherwise coming up here at 3 o'clock. Take care.